What is up, everybody? Welcome into the KC Sports Authority podcast. If you are watching us live, you're joining us live currently. We are over here on our YouTube channel, also over on Facebook. So if you're joining us live tonight, thank you so much. We're pumped to have you guys as we preview the 2024-2025 KU football season. The comment section will certainly be open. Feel free to throw any questions in there, ask us any questions, throw any comments, how you're feeling about the season, all that stuff. We got a lot of exciting things for you planned. Keegan Russell, JB Merker, Austin Ecker, and Derek, who disappeared on us right there, but he'll be back in. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get going. And any of you Jayhawk fans that join us will be right here waiting for you guys on the other side.
Hey, what's good, y'all? It's your boy JD6 here with my man. Shout out to KC Sports Authority. Make sure y'all go check that podcast out, man.
You heard the man.
And that is right. This is the KC Sports Authority podcast. Again, if you're joining us live over here on YouTube and Facebook, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button below so other Jayhawk fans like yourself can find the podcast. And if you're a Chiefs fan or a Royals fan, sports betting, NFL, fantasy football, we got all that for you here on the podcast coming up. So make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And to give a little bit more push in there to get us going, we have some other exciting things we have working here. Right now, we're sitting just shy of 800 subscribers here on YouTube, and we want to get to 1,000 subscribers before the start of the football season, which is in 2 weeks. Got a little ways to go. We got about 250 subscribers when we get there. So we got a little incentive for you guys. We are going to be doing a signed jersey giveaway. That is correct. Yeah. Signed jerseys. We've got 2 that we will be giving away. A signed Devin Neal jersey as well as a signed Jalen Daniels jersey, 4 and 6. We are so pumped to give these away, but not going to do it until we get to 1,000 subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed already, if you're watching for the first time, or if you're sharing this one of your friends, tell everybody to go and subscribe right now before the end of the night. The quicker we get to 1,000, the quicker we can give these 2 jerseys away. Give us a follow on all of our social medias, as you will see here below in a second, at KCSA Pod, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. We'll have the details on those exact giveaways once we hit that threshold. So we'll keep you guys posted. But fellas, like I mentioned, we are less than 2 weeks away from kickoff of the college football season. And your preseason number 22 ranked Kansas football program is primed for probably one of the best seasons in recent history, right up there with that Orange Bowl season, which I don't know if we were anticipating going into the year. Whereas this year we have all the anticipation, excitement that this is going to be a big, big season. But as we are 2 weeks away, how's everybody feeling?
Dude, if there was a football season to watch, it is this year. I mean, this year, I'd hate to say it, but like I don't want to jinx us. This is going to be our best year in probably, I guess since winning the Orange Bowl. It will be our best year. We're going to break. I think we're going to break our win total from last year, which included a bowl win. I think we're breaking that in the regular season. I don't know. Hot take, maybe not, but it's very possible. That's how much hype this season has. And, man, I mean, what a time to be alive, especially considering the last, decade and a half outside the last couple of years. I mean, we had a rough go for many, many years. And, boy, it feels so, so good to be going into this season, which is going to be an absolute banger. Can't wait.
Derek, Austin, 2 weeks away. Austin, I know this is the first time for you on the podcast with us. So first off, welcome. Glad to have you. But what are you guys thinking? 2 weeks away before this football team gets out there and proves to the rest of college football that they not only belong in the conversation for possibly Big 12 championship considerations, but maybe a college football playoff run.
Yeah, absolutely. First off, Keegan, thanks for having me on. I appreciate you bringing me on here. It's an honor to be on here. Very excited about this season. I've been excited about it since the end of the bowl game, to be quite honest with you. And, I've been talking about, how great this season can be when we're at our best. And there's a lot to be excited about, and there's plenty of room for optimism as far as, making the Big 12 title game and making possibly the college football playoff. We'll see.
Yep. Derek, you got anything else to add there?
No, just going off of Austin. I mean, I feel like everything is leading up to this season. Like everything's coming together, and if things go our way, we could have a very, very, very special season. Arguably, even more special than obviously the Orange Bowl winning season. That'll be very hard to top, but I mean, it seems like the trajectory is going towards that. So I have high hopes.
I've got something I want to pose to the group. And also, by the way, if you're watching this live with us, thank you. Please comment. I mean, we can interact with you guys as much as you let us, right? So comment and let us know your thoughts throughout the podcast recording of what we're talking about. And, maybe we can include you and pull. I think, Keegan, you can probably pull up some comments on the screen if you want.
I will for sure pull some comments up if they want to be shown.
If you want to be featured in KCSA Pod, your comment can be on the screen. Boom. And then boom, screenshot. Post it on Twitter. Say, hey, follow these guys. Help us get the
quick shout out, Tony. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you being here. Hope you are also looking forward to the season like we are.
That's right. Tony's number one. See, I mean, we have a giveaway that we're doing, as Keegan mentioned at the beginning of this recording. So we're trying to get to 1,000 subs. Would love it if you guys join in on the conversation a little bit more as well. Don't be shy. Please don't, because we're just regular guys like you. But I want to pose something to the group because this season, like I said, is going to be so hyped. And I think, I mean, if it goes the way I'm thinking it goes, if it goes to the way where we end up in a Big 12 title game and we win the Big 12 title game, and we're talking a playoff run in a college football playoff run is what we're talking about. Now, if we're not one of those like top 4 seeds, but we made it because now it's expanded, now there can be 12 teams. 12 teams this year. I mean, let's be honest. Okay, do we feel like hyped? We don't care that it's expanded. We made it. Is that the emotion, or is there just a hint of like, well, if they never expanded it, we wouldn't have made it. Like, I just kind of want to get a vibe. What's the excitement level if we make it that far?
I mean, for me, if KU were to make it to the college football playoff, I would just be excited that they made it. If they win a game or two in that, whole thing, then that's awesome. But like, I would be ecstatic if they had just made it all the way there. Because I mean, if you think about it, 3 years ago we were 2-10. Okay, like it wasn't too long ago when we weren't great, and you just got to appreciate the fact that we've now won a bowl game, and we've won 9 games, which is the most games that we've won since the Orange Bowl season, which we won 12 obviously. But I mean, it'd be a big step for this program to take to get to the college football playoff, and for me, I would just be happy if we made it there. Whatever happens in that whole thing happens, and I'll just be glad we made it there. So, because, obviously we've talked about it almost every single day for the past 2 years. KU's come such a long way in a short period of time.
I was talking about, to switch to the Royals for a second here. Chris and I were talking on episode last week that once you start winning, expectations tend to change quickly. So I think it's fair for the fans to expect not only a bowl season but to be in contention for the Big 12 championship race as well as a college football playoff spot. I mean, you said it, 12 teams this year can get in. KU's currently ranked as 22 in the country. So 10 theoretical spots away from possibly getting there. As we'll get into, we'll talk about the schedule here a little bit and how the schedule is relatively favorable this year for them, as well as the rest of the Big 12, just the way it's laid out, that there's a nice path there. But, yeah, you got to start with high expectations. Coming off a 9-4 season, one of the best in the last 25 years and one of the better ones in program history, another bowl win that you can add to the category there. The season didn't quite go how we had hoped, obviously, with losing Jalen Daniels for part of the season, but we saw a tremendous play from Jason Bean down the last 6-7 games of the year to really propel us into this bowl game opportunity. You lose Bean, you get Jalen Daniels back, you return basically everyone on offense, again, as we'll talk about this roster a little bit. So why not expect the best? So if you're a Jayhawk fan, you should be expecting at least a 9-win season, in my opinion, if not more. Again, we'll talk about the schedule and kind of give our predictions on it. But yeah, why not set the tone as Big 12 championship, college football playoff appearance? I think that's where you have to start with your expectations, in my opinion. Anybody else feel any different?
No, I think you're hitting it on the head.
So let's talk a little bit about this team as a whole before we get into the schedule. So like we mentioned, obviously the biggest question mark coming into this season, and we're not going to spend much time to dwell on it, but is the health of Jalen Daniels. We've seen the talent level, the athleticism, the superstardom that he can have on the field, the playmaking ability he has when he's healthy. But we've also seen that KU can't quite hit that ceiling when he's not on the field. Now, all reports are that Jalen is healthy, knock on wood. His back is great. We've seen him this offseason get in some work, and I think everyone is expecting him to be on the field. I think he's expecting to be on the field. There's nothing I've seen coming out of KU's camp and anybody surrounding them to suggest anything other than full confidence Jalen Daniels is healthy. So if Jalen Daniels is healthy, and we've talked about this a few months ago when we had Devin Neal on the podcast. And if you guys haven't checked out that episode, make sure you go back and check it out. Maybe JB or myself, as we're talking, I'll post the link here in the chat. But go back and check that one out with Devin. That was fantastic. He had a lot of great things to say about his time at Kansas as well as this upcoming season. But Jalen Daniels immediately is one of the top 10, top 7, top 5 quarterbacks in the country. Wherever you rank him, I don't think is wrong. He's got a lot of hype, obviously, with his playmaking abilities, and we've seen it. I mean, he's had games with the 6 touchdowns. He's had games where he's run for over 100 yards and thrown for 300 yards. So he's definitely up there. So with him healthy, this team, the sky's the limit. You return probably one of the most talented and experienced backfields in the country with Devin Neal and Daniel Highshaw as your 1-2 punch there. Arguably, in my opinion, the best 1-2 punch, not only in the Big 12, but all of college football.
Right.
You return an incredibly experienced wide receiver group. They might not be the most talented on paper compared to some other teams in the country, but 3 guys that have been playing in this program for multiple years. Quentin Skinner, a guy that really broke onto the field the last year and a half or so, is a big-time deep field threat, down the field threat, sideline making big plays. Luke Grimm might be one of the most underrated slot receivers and possession receivers in the game. I mean, the guy can go for 10 to 15 catches every single time he steps foot on the field. And then Lawrence Arnold, the star of that wide receiver group, the guy that's going to go up and make a big-time catch. He's going to make the contested catch down the field, make the big play in open field. So you've got a very talented group there. You return most of your offensive line. You do lose Mike Nowitzki there at center and Dom Pooney at tackle, but you've got a very experienced group there on the offensive line. You lose Mason Fairchild in the tight end room, but you still got Jared Casey, Trevor Cardell. Obviously, Deshaun Hanukkah goes out with an injury, but you've got an experienced group there and a new offensive coordinator. So even with the new offensive coordinator and some of the guys that we don't have, this is an incredibly experienced team that we should see coming into the college football season this year. It was not just a couple of years ago they were one of the most inexperienced and youngest teams. Now they've got one of the most experienced and oldest teams in college football, and that should play to their favor. But a lot to be excited about offensively. There's a lot to talk about defensively too. A lot of unique pieces. We probably have the best cornerback tandem in college football, or at least top 5 for sure, with Kobe Bryant and Mello Dotson. Lance Leipold's been on numerous lists as a top 10, top 7 coach in all of college football. So you really have a lot of things playing into your favor this year. So not only locally are we expecting big things, but I think nationally you're starting to see a lot of the big-time ESPN guys and Fox Sports analysts and college football analysts around the country say that, hey, you got to start paying attention to what's going on over there in Lawrence, Kansas, because this team, if they're firing on all cylinders like we think they're capable of, they can compete at the highest level. They might not have the guys at Alabama and Georgia and Michigan and Ohio State pull in, but they are a team that knows how to win. They've got, in my opinion, the best culture in America with what Coach Gildersleeve does, and they are primed for a big 2024-2025 season. Before we get into the schedule, is there anything you guys want to address heading into the year that you're looking forward to most, or anything you feel like needs to be talked about before we break down the schedule?
Can we talk about the impact of who we did lose? Because I think one of the biggest losses in roster turnover for me is Kenny Logan. And I would love to hear Austin. I don't know about if you have any thoughts on this. What do you see KU doing in terms of losing a guy like Kenny Logan? Are we set with his replacement? Are we a little bit doomed? Like how I get and I guess overall, is our defense going to look better or worse compared to last year?
I mean, I think we're going to find out for sure after a few games going into the season. Of course, we're not going to find out for sure if our defense is going to be good after the first game or two. It's going to be after after maybe game 4 or 5, we'll get a good idea of what this defense is going to be and what they're going to look like. And I mean, I think our defense is going to be a lot better than what people are anticipating. But I mean, like, you can make the argument that maybe our defense is not going to be the reason we win any of our games this season. But, this is a defense that can also create turnovers. And I think that's what we got to keep doing, because I thought we did a good job of that, last year. I thought they really, they were able to get after the ball, I think, in almost every single game. And I think that's what they got to keep doing if they want to be successful on that side of the ball. But I mean, I like the guys that are stepping up. You got some guys that are coming in, some guys that have been in the program for a little bit that are now getting their opportunity to step up and start. So I'm excited about that. I think they'll be a lot better than most people think.
Yeah, Kenny Logan's he was a program guy. He stayed when he could have left. He was here before. He was here at the beginning, and he was here this last year when he had the most success in his time. And that's a lot of leadership to lose on the field. You're talking about a guy that's a hard-hitting safety all over the field. I mean, how many times last year was there a play made and Kenny Logan's name is the one that's making the play? So that's a big-time loss. But KU did really well in the offseason. I mean, Marvin Grant, I think, is going to be a tremendous senior safety this year, a guy that's kind of played safety, corner, nickel. He's kind of bounced all around. He can play the hawk linebacker on some of those sets too. So I think Marvin Grant's going to really step up huge. Obviously, OJ Burrows is basically a 4-year starting senior at this point, so a ton of experience. And then you've got the Dye brothers. Not only Jalen, who's already been here a little while, but you get his older brother Devin to transfer in. Devin, I think, is going to be very underrated. I think KU's got a lot of versatility with their secondary, especially with both Dye brothers there. They've got Caleb Purdy, who I think is a very fantastic young corner. His second year at the program, playing behind 2 studs, of course, that are seniors that we will lose. So there's a lot we're going to lose too after this year. But it sounds like, to me, KU did a pretty good job this offseason picking up some secondary pieces in the transfer portal, as well as some incoming freshmen that could make a serious impact. So maybe they don't replace Kenny Logan per se, but I do think they have a lot of quantity that they can throw at those positions to feel confident. The linebacker group's the one I've been looking at, a group that they've got a lot of potential guys there. We heard Devin say that maybe JB Brown is the hardest hitting guy on the team, the guy you don't want to get tackled by. I think he's got a lot to prove there at linebacker this year. Cornell Wheeler is going to be another guy you'll see in the mix quite a bit. Jason Gilliam. Those are just 3 of the many guys at the linebacker position. But I think that's one that the very in-depth fans might go, hey, is that linebacker position going to hold up? Because Craig Young was fantastic this last year. Rich Miller, also fantastic. Those are 2 big losses. And then even on the defensive line, you've got some losses there. But to me, they're very experienced at all levels on defense. And so it's that next man up mentality. And it's, you've got 4 or 5 guys there that are ready to show what they're capable of, in my opinion. Okay. Anybody else got anything?
Yeah, you can't understate Kenny Logan's loss, obviously.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry. And you can't understate the loss of Kenny Logan. I mean, he was the leading tackler last year, which is never good if you want to
your secondary
be a
safety
successful defense. Right. But to be honest, if KU wants to be a championship defense, that they have to keep getting better. 2021 they gave up a paltry 42 points a game. 2022, what was it, 35? And then last year they only gave up 26. Now, can they take that next step up? Can they, 20 points, 22 points, if it's 22? I think that's big progress. I mean, the jump from
Yeah.
42-26 is obviously fantastic, but can they make that jump from 26 to around 20 points per game? If they can do that,
Those are winnable
they should be in
games.
the playoff.
Yeah.
Obviously, granted, offense should hold up their end of the deal. Can the defense get off the field on third downs, right? Can they generate enough pressure, right? Lost Austin Booker, huge loss. Okay, can the guys step up? Can Deshaun Warner, incoming freshman, I have big hopes and expectations for him. Davy Brown, like you said, I mean, like he's a senior, right? He's got to lead the team in tackles, I think. You want those linebackers to fill those gaps and diagnose those plays. So we'll see. Again, as long as the offense holds up their end of the deal, can the defense, force some turnovers, make some big plays. Obviously, our the back end of our defense it will hold up their end, but can that front seven generate enough pressure? Can they, get turnovers? Can they, get off the field on third and longs? So I think that'll be a big determinant as to whether you're a great team or a championship level team.
Sure. Yeah, because we know this offense is going to be humming and putting up numbers. So can the defense do just enough to take the pressure off to where we don't feel like we have to go out and score 45, even though we're certainly capable.
Right, and offensively, I'm curious to see how Jeff Grimes contrasts with Andy Kotelnicki. I don't think it'll contrast too much, but just based on personnel. But I'm just curious, are we going to see as many shifts? Are we going to see as many pre-snap motions? Are they going to have, just plays that maximize, the people on the field, the players on the field. So
are we going to have better fourth down decisions?
Yeah.
Exactly. So the situational football, right? Situational football. I mean, it's been brutal. So can the offense move the chains, right? Can the defense get off the field? If those two can happen, I think KU's in for a pretty great season.
I think so. So let's talk about the schedule a little bit. And there is one major headline I for sure want to touch on, and that's also kind of why Austin's here too, because this guy seems to have the scoop on the daily with what's happening down there near Potter's Lake at the bottom of that hill. But KU football, this is the year where they don't have any true home games, quote unquote, there because the booth was torn down. The new stadium's being built, so we've got games in Kansas City at Children's Mercy Park where Sporting KC plays, and of course we know they're playing at Arrowhead. So as we dissect the schedule here in a second, we'll talk about that. But Austin, what can you tell me about the stadium? I mean, I see a post from you weekly, if not daily, of something else going up down there with the construction. Obviously, they're a long ways off, but how do you think that stadium is going to have an impact maybe in the future for KU football, and how that might impact fans going to games this year?
I mean, it's going to have a huge impact. It really will. I mean, it's really cool to see, your own school kind of, build a brand new football stadium. I mean, shoot, now I'm not saying this is going to happen, 50 years from now. I hope it never happens. But let's just say Allen Fieldhouse was getting torn down and they built up a brand new version of them, like that, something like that. Like you'd want to document something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's history, in the making. So I'm not saying that's going to happen. I don't want that to ever happen. Okay?
Me neither.
The cathedral of college basketball.
Just for the record. But anyways,
easy, Austin. Easy.
Hey, at some point, whether it's 100 years from now or what, like it's gonna happen. And I'm glad I'll be dead by then.
Right.
I don't want to see it.
I don't want to see it happen.
I'll be turning over my grave.
Okay. Yeah. Anyways, back to the football stadium though. I mean it's really cool to just check, just go by there and see, what they're doing every single day. Cause I feel like there's something new going on, at least every single day almost. And I think it's going to greatly impact just the fan experience. It's going to impact, the environment. It's going to do so much. I mean, you could tell the new seats are going to be a lot closer to the field than the old seats. I'm sure you guys have seen stuff on that already. So that's going to be interesting, and we'll see if that impacts how just potentially loud it can get in there. But obviously next year we're going to be playing in a 2/3 new stadium concept, because they're not going to work on the east and south side until maybe after the 2025 season or the 2026 season. We don't know. That's just my assumption, but I think it'll still be cool to have somewhat of a brand new stadium for next season, and I think it'll definitely attract a lot of recruits. It'll attract a lot of people around the country, especially when the thing's all finished and complete. So it's been really cool to see the construction, and it was really cool back in December and January to see the demolition too. You just every time I drive by there and I see parts of the stadium getting torn down, I always kind of just reminisce on some of the memories I had there, past 3 years. Obviously, KU football hasn't been the best, in the past couple of decades or so. But I mean, for the past couple of seasons, it's been unbelievable. And unfortunately we couldn't, go out of the booth the right way by getting a win over Kansas State. But I mean, we played very hard in that game, but really all throughout that season, I thought we sent the old booth out the right way. And, I'll forever cherish all the memories that I had there. And obviously, very excited about going to Children's Mercy Park and Arrowhead for all 6 Kansas City games. So that'll be interesting. But I think it'll be fun.
I know we're already in this new era of KU football, Jalen Daniels' new era. But it is kind of nice that we're going to be starting with this new bulked up stadium for this new era of KU football, even though it'll be a couple years late. But yeah, games in Kansas City this year. So let's go through the schedule. Don't need to spend too long. Mostly want to talk about the games that stand out to you guys. But they've got a couple of games in Kansas City, Children's Mercy Park, and then a couple of games at Arrowhead, most notably Iowa State and Colorado towards the back half of the year. But as you guys look at the schedule, early at least, an early look, there's only one ranked team on here in Kansas State, of course, ranked a little bit ahead of us. Obviously, there are some other decent schools on there. We get to see a couple new additions to the Big 12 or one re-addition to the Big 12 with Colorado. And we got Arizona State on the schedule this year. We've got the rematch of sorts with Illinois. We've got the rematch with UNLV from the bowl game. And then we see BYU for the second time. As you guys look at the schedule, I mean, what are the games that stand out? What are the games you're circling?
It's tough because I feel like every year we look at the K-State game. We know that we want to beat them every year. And unfortunately, we haven't been able to. And it's like Austin, you had mentioned it. I mean, it would have been nice if we could have beaten K-State before demolishing our stadium. But that was the game that, on my first initial look, is that going to be our very first loss? Like, people talk about West Virginia and how that might be, a tough game. It's going to be at West Virginia. I happen to remember what happened last time we were in West Virginia, and we happened to get a great, how many times have we seen Jalen Daniels on KU Twitter just being like in the rain, like he knew it was time to win that game. I remember Illinois. I mean, everyone I've seen talk about Illinois being a tough game. The way, if you look at the score, just the score from last season, it doesn't tell the full story because we really, really kind of, I don't want to say we're dominating them, but I mean, we were putting it to them, and we kind of took it easy for the last half of the game, let it get a little close, but ultimately we were pretty comfortable in that game. Now this is going to be at Illinois, so we're not going to have the home crowd, but I just think KU is on another level now. Looking at the schedule, those games kind of, they scare some people. They don't scare me. UNLV, there's potential that could be scary simply because we just played them in the bowl game, and maybe all they have to do is tweak their game plan just ever so slightly to beat us because we're bringing back just about the same roster. So, these are scary games, but I look at it and I think we're probably going to lose to K-State. only because it's in Manhattan. But what if we win that game? Because I'm looking at this roster thinking it's possible. But and I'm looking at the roster and I'm looking at the schedule and I'm just thinking I see 10 wins, but that's me.
I like that. I think 10 wins puts you in contention for Big 12 championship possibilities.
I would say it's K-State and Colorado that beat us. That's just off the dome.
Come on, don't give Dion and company too much
I don't want
confidence.
I don't, but I mean,
This is their first time play. Well, they played some real competition last year and they fell apart outside of that game to start the year. But I don't know.
yeah.
I do like that Illinois game early. A decent road game to start the season to kind of find out what you're capable of. I think UNLV, that game's going to be a little tough because I think they're going to actually be feeling the loss of the bowl game and want to get back at us. And, of course, at West Virginia. So I think those 3 games there are harder than they may look on paper. But for the most part, KU's got one of the more favorable Big 12 schedules, which is why even though they haven't been picked by most to win the Big 12 this year, I think most people have them 4th. They have probably the better odds, from a betting angle at being the team to pick to win the Big 12. And they're also the one that has had the largest % chance of the Big 12 teams to make it to the college football playoff, despite not being the favorite to win the conference championship. But Austin, you kind of had your finger poking up there. I feel like you had a thought you wanted to get off about something JB said.
Uh-oh.
Oh no! It's not a no moment. Don't worry. You said something about the crowd in at the Illinois game. I'd like to argue that maybe there will be some Jayhawks there because of all of the Chicago KU alumni.
Right.
Maybe all of them will come down to Champaign for the game because I don't think it's far. I don't know how far it is from there, but hey, I think there could be a decent amount of Jayhawks at that Illinois game, but we'll see when we get there. But
yeah, Chicago's a very big market for KU alumni for sure.
Yeah, it'll be a couple hours drive. It's really not too bad. But yeah, that Illinois game, that it's going to be electric because if it's anything like the game, just this past season. I love it. I mean, that's when we debuted the new black uniforms, all black uniforms. They're
so
sick.
Awesome. I know.
I love them, and that's why I knew we were recording about KU football. I was like, look, let me put on my black shirt. Let me put on my black KU hat.
Yeah, you were all over those black jersey combos, feeling it.
Man. That was also the game that I was on the sideline and I was taking all the photos 5 feet away from the whole bench.
Shout out. That's where JB got our intro clip for the JD shout out for us. So that was awesome.
Yeah, that was amazing. I'll forever remember that game.
Yeah. I think when I look at the schedule, the first maybe gotcha opportunity or game that scares me. Oh, sorry, we had a lot of interference there. Go ahead, Derek. You have a thought there. Go ahead. Maybe. It's cutting in and out.
Oh, sorry. On paper, we should be 7-0, personally.
That's right.
Oh,
heading into K-State.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. On paper, we should be 7-0 heading to K-State. I'm not worried about UNLV. I'm not worried about going to Illinois, Champaign. I know they returned the quarterback. I believe they returned the running back, but either way, I'm not worried. What else? Houston, TCU, not worried. West Virginia, not worried. Arizona State, they won 3 games last year.
West Virginia is the only potential slip up game there because that's just an interesting environment all the time. I think football or basketball, you go at West Virginia, it's weird.
Right.
Would there be a legitimate?
If KU plays to their full potential,
they
really should be 7-0. They really should be 7-0 heading to K-State. And if KU beats K-State in Manhattan, that's
huge.
If that happens, there's really no reason why KU should not be in the playoff. Really.
Well, let me say this though. I mean,
just that momentum. It just keeps going.
I mean, listen. The K-State game, if we win that game, that's like you could argue that that could be like the last piece for the KU football rebuild. And honestly,
Yes.
it's okay. It's okay to admit that K-State could be KU's Super Bowl this year. It's okay to admit it because it's going to be the biggest game of the season. I mean, as I, personally look at the schedule myself, we should be 7-0 going into that game. But I mean, West Virginia kind of concerns me a little bit. I know we're capable of winning on the road there because we've done it before, but still it does concern me just a little bit. Arizona State is a game that I do need to address because it's interesting. Last year we had Nevada, and that was a game where everybody was like, oh, yeah, we should win by 50. I'm not worried about it. It's not a big deal. And then it was tied like 24-24, and everybody was like, oh, my God, are we going to lose to Nevada? And then luckily KU was able to pull away and win that game. But, Arizona State, most people, say that they're going to be the worst team in the Big 12 this year. I could potentially see that happening, but who knows? I think all 16 teams are going to be very competitive this season. So I feel like anybody can beat anybody. We saw that last year as well. But Arizona State, it worries me a little bit, just a little bit. And just don't be surprised, especially because there's a good chance that game is a late night kickoff. It could be a late night kickoff. I'm just saying, if it's a late night kickoff, just don't be surprised if it's not the game that you expect it to be. So as long as KU finds a way to win, I don't really care what the score ends up being, but don't expect it to be 50-0. But Arizona State kind of scares me a little bit. I do get Nevada vibes about that game, but everything else, I mean, Lindenwood, easy win. They moved up from FCS 2 years ago, I believe. Illinois, Champaign, lots of Jayhawks will be there, I think. The UNLV game will be nationally televised. It'll be the Illinois game of the year, basically, because last year we purposely moved the game to a Friday just so they could get that game on ESPN. That's exactly what they did with the UNLV game. West Virginia worries me a little bit, but I think we can win that game. TCU, I don't know how good TCU is going to be. I think they'll be slightly better than last year, but don't be surprised if maybe TCU makes it a game. Arizona State, I've already covered that. Houston is kind of interesting to me as well because they have a brand new head coach in Willie Fritz, who I believe is a Shawnee, Kansas native as well, and is also a University of Central Missouri coaching
local
legend
ties.
as well. And Willie Fritz, in my opinion, is a lot like Lance. So just the way he coaches and the way he thinks about, I don't know, just how to approach practices and how to, build a culture and all those things. You saw what he did at Tulane, and he was able to beat Caleb Williams in USC in the Cotton Bowl down at Jerry World in Arlington. And he did a fantastic job down there in Tulane. And some people have Houston maybe not doing good this year, but they do have a really good quarterback that transferred from Texas Tech. I hear that maybe they're not going to have the same, group of players that they had from last year, and they may not be as good. But, I mean, I wouldn't sleep on the Houston game. I just hope that KU takes care of business in that game in particular, especially with a quarterback like Donovan Smith. And then Kansas State, I'm telling you, it's not impossible to win in Manhattan. It's really not. I mean, look, it's tough. It's a very tough environment. I've been at Bill Snyder Family Stadium on a few occasions, and it's one of the best atmospheres personally that I've been to for a college football game. I mean, I got to respect it, right? But I don't think it's impossible for this year's team to go over to Manhattan and beat them. It's just as long as they're at their best and healthy, and if they are, 7-0 or 6-1, whichever record they end up having after those first seven, I think they're going to have a plenty amount of momentum going into that game. And I really think KU wants it more this year, especially after what happened last year. With the 11 being up 11 points. I'm not, I don't know if I want to run through it because I don't want to.
Multiple plays that should have gone in our favor that didn't.
But here's the thing. With Cole Ballard at quarterback, KU figured out how to beat Kansas State. And really, there's two big things that they just have to do in Manhattan. Don't muff the punt and don't turn the ball over. If you do those two things, if you just don't muff the punt like we've done the past two games, which that's the reason, it's one of the biggest reasons we've lost. Like we've got to, be better in special teams.
Mm-hmm.
You got to, just be better in special teams, especially with punts. Just don't muff the punt and just don't turn the ball over. And I think KU can go over there and beat them. I don't think it's impossible. They just got to, find a way to, get points on the board early and build that momentum. And I like their chances, but it'll be tough. I think with that type of environment, it'll be a more intense Sunflower Showdown game than the one.
Yeah, it's got on paper to be probably the best showdown in quite a long time. And I think I go back to that 07 matchup that we won at K-State. I think it was 24-21, if I'm not mistaken. And Keep Sleep had that pick six in Manhattan. I think that's the last time we won in Manhattan. And K-State wasn't quite the program they are right now. Not that they were a bad program. But you have both programs that are probably at the top of their game right now, supposedly. There's a lot of hype into Avery Johnson, and we're not going to spend time on this podcast talking about K-State because this is not a K-State podcast. Avery Johnson's fantastic. I don't think his body's going to hold up. I will take Jalen Daniels every day of the week. But yeah, if KU – so here's the question I have for you guys. Obviously, get scheduled outside of that K-State game. Colorado's a big-time matchup, prime time, all pun intended there. Iowa State's going to be huge because we know how well Iowa State fans travel to Kansas City.
50-50 crowd.
Yeah, if things go how they could, and KU ends up in Manhattan 7-0 and pulls off the upset, which could be an upset at that time. Who knows? Maybe K-State falls, and then were they actually the ranked favorite there? But if KU goes into K-State, pulls off that victory to go 8-0, my question is, perfect 12-0 season? Is that a – if we get over that hump, is that possible? Is that the ceiling of this team, or is that still realistic to think about? Anybody else watching feel like 12-0 is possible? If you think 12-0 is possible, give me a heart, give me a thumbs up, 100s, put in the chat box, something. Because I do kind of think that, as ridiculous as it might sound, KU has the potential. I see a path to winning all 12 games this year. That's not realistic, I don't think. But yeah, KU could be a 12-0
Everything's coming together.
If we can talk ourselves into KU basketball being undefeated every year, we can talk ourselves into one season of KU football being 12-0.
Well,
let's look at the schedule, or let's. Yeah,
so yeah, you guys have said K-State, Colorado are probably the two biggest matchups on this schedule as far as toughness. I think Iowa State's honestly a tougher game than Colorado, personally. I think they're a better program. So those are, to me, are the three bigger ones that have lost potential. Then I don't care what Baylor is. Anytime you go into Baylor, I think Baylor's a tough environment. So those are really the four games I see as potential losses.
Has KU ever won at Baylor? Does anybody know?
It's probably a safe bet to say no.
So, hey, don't sleep on the Baylor game either. I don't know how good or bad they're going to do. I know they have, some people could argue that they have a problem with coaching right now, but telling you, there's a couple of games.
We stole their offensive coordinator, so that could play to our favor.
Well, I just think, even though, with the type of schedule that KU has, I think they could very well go 12-0, but I just don't think at the same time there's going to be an undefeated team in the Big 12. I don't know if that'll happen. I think the BYU game for me is a little bit scary because if we go out there to Provo at night, who knows? Iowa State walked in there and blew them out. Okay, but in some other games they've played opponents pretty close, and they gave Oklahoma a run for their money too. It's not an easy place to walk out of with a win. So that'll be another game that I think, it could potentially be a loss. Now, I don't know if BYU is going to be, good or, just as good as they were last year. I know they got a new quarterback, but, BYU is always going to be competitive every single year, no matter who they have out there on the field. So that'll be another game that kind of, I'll be keeping my eyes peeled on.
Yeah, I think you have games that could be quote unquote the gotcha game possibilities, but we've talked about. I mean, Lance Leipold and I think honestly, Coach Gildersleeve have put together one of the best cultures in college football. These guys are disciplined. They're going to play disciplined football, and if they're not shooting themselves in the foot and making mistakes, this is a team that should be a favorite to win almost every game they're in, and a team that is certainly more than competitive enough to win all 12. So I don't know, 12-0 might be a little unrealistic, but I think it's possible. So I guess let me put this on the flip side. What do you guys think the ceiling, or I guess the floor is of this team as far as win-loss record? So if we have a bad season, Jalen gets hurt,
What's
and
the
we're
Vegas
playing a
over-under?
freshman quarterback or Cole Ballard, I think last I checked, it's at 9.5.
I'll say 6-6.
I was going to say that. Yeah. And there's 6 losable games. I kind of rattled through some of them. We talked about them. I mean, K-State, obviously, Colorado, I think, Iowa State. The back half of our schedule is a little bit brutal, if we're being honest.
It is kind of stacked there.
Yeah.
Which,
It
I mean,
really
that's
is.
most conferences are like that. You get into conference play, your last 6 weeks of the season
Really,
are tough.
6-6 though?
6-6
yeah.
feels low for me.
It's low, but it's like
Yeah,
that's what the floor is.
I'd go 8 wins. I'd go 8.
You think there's no what? You think there's no way?
So
that we lose?
outside of a major Jalen
Okay.
Daniels injury or something else, you think if all parties are healthy that 6-6 is realistic? Because I don't think 6-6 just feels like too little.
Yes, it does feel like
it's
too low, but
disrespectful.
I mean,
it's
yeah,
You
disrespectful.
asked what the floor was.
I mean, yeah,
But I think
like JB
But I
said,
think that's a
it's-
pretty disrespectful for this team. I think it's a pretty disrespectful.
No,
Okay.
no,
my
it's not. Okay, but I'm just saying, like, if something happens and we're not at our best, I mean, but let's just hope that doesn't happen. I mean,
Okay,
I'm just
right
saying-
now KU's over under is 8.5. So plus money,
Okay.
plus 138 on 8.5, which
Oh.
I think is no
Over.
brainer personally. Because to me, this is a 9+ win team. But yeah,
Oh.
I think at worst case scenario, maybe 7-5.
Right. Yeah.
And that's
say 7.
because you butchered 2 games that you had no business losing. Or yeah, you do the muff punt, you miss a field goal, something comes up to bite you in the butt to take a loss away. But yeah, as I look at this schedule, anything less than, to me, 8-4 is a disappointment. Even though I know their win totals listed at 8.5, but considering where they were last year and all the hype coming into this season and the way the schedule's breaking down, to me, this is a 9+ win season. So if 12-0 is not realistic, what do you guys think the true ceiling is as far as win-loss record?
11-1.
Yeah.
And that one loss probably being K-State? One of K-State, Colorado, maybe?
Iowa State. I don't know. I feel weird, dude. They, like you said, they travel so well.
Yeah,
I mean,
they do.
it's going to be a 50-50 crowd.
And it is
Austin
in
said
Kansas City too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I mean, I think KU will win that game still. I just think if they're at their best in that game, I think they'll take care of business. Now, I know in the last home game, it was really close and low scoring, and Iowa State had to miss 3 field goals to lose to us, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be a
We got
physical
so lucky.
football game, and it could be an offensive shootout too. I mean, you just never know. I think it'll be an interesting game for sure. But
I don't think we are putting enough weight into one key factor. Okay, and this is, I say key factor. It's the X factor. It is either going to pump up our team and help us play very well, or it's going to do the exact opposite. But it's the fact that we're not playing any games in our actual home, in the booth, no booth. And now the crowd, yes, the fans, yes, will be there. I mean, Sporting KC, it's gonna be, we're on top of them and we're gonna be screaming and shouting, and it's gonna be great. Arrowhead, we probably won't be able to fill the stadium. Let's be honest. That's a lot of seats.
That will be very impressive if we do. I know they've said on record that why not fill. Travis Scoffa said why not fill the whole stadium. That's our goal.
Sure.
And if they do, that'd be fantastic. I think we're going to need a lot of help from Kansas City area native people and and they're gonna have to figure out. They're gonna have to really push hard to get people from Lawrence to Kansas, which I know they've talked about
Yeah.
buses and all that. But
Those
that would be
games,
awesome.
Like those 4 games at Arrowhead could be the X factor of the entire season because, yeah, who's to say that we're not going to show it really well? I mean, we could not. It's so scary to me that we're not going to actually have any true home games. It's going to be of the utmost importance for the fans to really show up to those Arrowhead games in particular. And I mean, yeah, it could hype up the players that, hey, we're playing in an NFL stadium. That's awesome. Or it could be like, gosh, this doesn't feel like home. I don't see the Campanile right there across from me. I don't see the hills.
Okay, pause, time out. Question for the room. Is it the Campanile or the Campanile? I think that is also a hot debate amongst Lawrence people.
I'm just going by what I was told, Campanile, but like,
Austin,
I don't know.
you're on campus as a student currently. Do you have any one way or the other feeling, or what do you hear people say the most? Because for me, it's always been the Campanile.
Yeah, that's how I've
that
always
has my
said it,
vote.
too.
Okay, so JB's the odd one out here. Okay,
Oh,
just wanted.
of course.
Just wanted
It
to
doesn't
figure
mean JB's wrong, but like
I don't know what the official answer is on that. I just have always heard.
I don't know
the
either.
Campanile.
In my defense, I will say I came to KU saying it's Campanile, right? And I had like multiple people in the dorms with me say like it's Campanile, and I'm like,
Tomato.
okay, whatever, right? Like that's anyway. But yeah, like I think
Caramel,
that,
caramel.
Hold on, we've talked about
It's caramel.
it depends on what you're saying.
caramel.
It's
There's
caramel.
the second L.
It's
There's the
caramel.
second A there.
What's the other? No, there's another one I'm thinking
Caramel.
of.
Do you
that's gonna
say?
bother
Does
me.
anyone say caramel apple? No, you say caramel
Caramel
apple.
apple? Yeah.
Like
I would,
so,
I would like
but
love caramel apple. What? No, that just sounds weird.
Yeah.
right.
It does.
So
Yeah.
anyway, why are we talking
Then
about
take
Yeah.
out the
Football.
I don't know.
Football.
football? Yeah, I think
Lock
the
in.
Hold
home
on.
games.
Can we-
We got
the
11
home games are
days.
important.
We got 11 days.
Yeah. So let
I
me
mean,
recap.
hold on.
So hey,
We've talked
Grim
about
Derek.
we've talked about who's on the schedule, but let's talk about who's not on the schedule, right?
Sure.
We don't have Oklahoma State, don't have Texas Tech, and we don't have Cam Rising in Utah.
or
So,
Arizona.
like, I think regardless of where, right, or Arizona, so you know, and their quarterback, right, and like their upcoming programs. So I think, again, I feel like despite playing, you know, at a neutral, you know, at Arrowhead, I think the stars are aligned for the season to have a very special season. And yeah, it's 12-0 out of the question. No, it's not. But obviously, like we've talked about, Iowa State, tough game. At BYU is going to be tough. But again, I think the team is set up to do a very, very special thing. And obviously that's contingent on a lot of things, but you know, things have to go our way. But again, I think our talent level, the expectations now, this continuing of the upward trajectory of this team. I mean, why not? Why not us? So
I tell you what, though, if we're 6-0 going to that K-State game, I will be driving the train of we're going undefeated, right there. Go into K-State with all the momentum, knock them off. Why not go undefeated down the stretch?
We're all driving to Manhattan together, by the way.
I really do want to go to
I'll
that
be in
game this
Manhattan.
year.
oh,
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
if
circling
we're
that
7-0,
weekend.
yeah, I will skip
No,
class.
I'm definitely going.
Yeah.
I will be in Manhattan for that.
So you going at K-State and at Champaign for the Illinois game, right?
Yes.
That's on your yeah.
As far as right now, yeah.
So far, yeah. That K-State
Oh,
game,
yeah,
I've always wanted to go to a game at K-State, even if KU is going to get trounced in it in years past. But I think that'd be fun. But okay, as we are slowly wrapping up here, you know, we've looked at the schedule. We've talked a little bit about the highs of the season, the lows of the season. We talked at the beginning of the episode about how expectations have started to change, and now we're expecting this program to do more. Let's get into our season predictions. So we're gonna go around the room here, and I want you to give me your official prediction on win-loss record, how far KU season ends up. Big 12 championship, college football playoff bowl game, whatever you want to go with. And then after that, I want to get into just real quickly the legacies of Jalen Daniels, Devin Neal, what they could accomplish as far as the record books are concerned this year. So whoever wants to start, let's go record first, and then, where you think postseason aspirations might look like in your prediction.
I think I've said it a couple times, but 10-2, that's where I'm at. I could easily see a 9-3. I'm going 10-2. We're going to probably lose in the Big 12 title game. But is that enough to make it into the playoff? If so, cool. I think we'd probably lose that game too. But of course, it depends. It depends. But I will be happy to have just made it. But that's where I see it.
And if you're watching right now, somebody, please just put something in the comment section. It doesn't even have to be your prediction. You're telling me not one of the 7 to 10 of you right now won't have any thoughts on this team. Just someone tell me your prediction on the season, how far you think KU could go, or how much confidence you have in them winning the Big 12 championship. Sorry to drop that in there, but yeah. JB,
Also,
you got him.
Is it caramel or caramel?
Caramel or caramel. Hot debate. Hot debate. Caramel or caramel? Go. Comment section, go.
10-2,
not to cut you off. So 10-2, you've guys losing Big 12 championship, possibly going to the college football playoff. Okay, I love it.
Yeah.
Austin, what do you got?
I mean, with how good this year's team is, I think 10-2 is the safest bet for me. I think 10-2 is attainable. 11-1, I can definitely see that. 11-1, I could see a world where KU wins 11 games, beats K-State, and loses at BYU. And I don't know, and whatever way. And they go on and win out the rest of the season, and they make it to the Big 12 title game. It'd be great if we won the Big 12 title game, but I don't want to put any expectations on that until we actually get there. But I wouldn't be surprised if we went there and eventually lost, but then got into the college football playoff and played maybe a quality team and beat them, and then maybe lose the next game. I could definitely see a world where that happens, but. I mean, this year's team, they want to accomplish, everything and all. I mean, you have 30 plus seniors on this year's team. Like, there's going to be a lot of people that are not going to be here next year. And, they want to, leave KU, with a bang, just like Devin Neal. And, we'll see what happens with Jalen. Obviously, he's got, another possibly another year of eligibility. With last year, he had the back injury, only played 3 games. So if he wanted to apply for, redshirt year, he could do that. But that's a conversation for later on. But yeah, I think 11-1, I think I could see that happening, but I'm going to roll with 10-2 for right now. As far as the K-State game goes, I'm expecting us to lose, but I'll see it. I got to see it to believe it.
Sure.
Right. So if they go down there, if they go over there and beat them, then I'll believe it. But for now, that's where I'm at. But it most definitely is the final piece of this rebuild that KU has had, in my opinion, because we haven't beaten K-State in some time, and they've won 15 straight, and it's going to be up to KU to change the narrative, because last year, even with playing Cole Ballard, was the storyline going in was how are they going to be able to close the gap against K-State? And it seems like they did, but they just couldn't, pull away with the win. And that's all that KU, needs to prove. They just got to beat K-State. They know how to do it. They've got the team, they've got the players, and they got coaches. They got everybody. They've got the team to do it, but they just got to prove it. And playing in Manhattan is obviously going to be very tough. I'm going to roll with 10-2. Big 12 title game is definitely attainable with that record. So I'm going to say Big 12 title game, win or lose, I'll be happy that we made it in the Big 12 title game. And then I think if we make the title game, then we'll definitely have a spot in the college football playoff. But this is an easy schedule for KU this year. And we talked earlier about the teams that we're not playing. it's worth mentioning that we're playing all 6 teams in the Big 12 that we're not playing next season. So that'll be, something to definitely keep our eyes out on, for next season.
Especially with all the roster turnover we'll have at the end of this upcoming
right.
year.
And we play, Mizzou in Columbia next year. That'll be a very tough game. But that being said, sky's the limit for this year's KU football team, and there's plenty of reason to believe that they could go 10-2 or at 11-1 this season. And they very well easily could have done that last year too. If you look at the way that season, went last year, and it just with everything that happened, Texas Tech, K-State were both winnable games. Oklahoma State was 100% winnable too. I mean, you could make the case that they could have gone 11-1 last year, but KU has a chance this year to actually prove that. So, this is the year to do it. And if they want to beat K-State, if they want to change the narrative on that game too, I feel like this is the year to do it. Now, I think next year they'll have a chance to beat them, in Lawrence too. But, sky's the limit for this year's football team, and I'm excited to see what happens.
Shout out to our guy, Christopher Tenpenny. Chris, thank you for putting some in the chat. He's got us going 11-1, losing the Big 12 title game, gets the 8 seed Mizzou versus KU at Arrowhead in the college football playoff. That could be that could be quite interesting there. That's a possibility.
No, they're going to back out of that game.
Yeah.
They're going to back out of it. Oh, we don't want to play KU. We want to play Alabama instead or something.
True. Mizzou is a top 10 team ranked currently, so that is a possible outcome there. It's kind of interesting to see that Mizzou actually has a potential shot at going deep into SEC play. But yeah, so we got 2 10-2s. Derek, where are you feeling?
Yeah, my first feeling was 10-2, but not the 10-2 I think a lot of people expect. I actually have them winning at K-State. I'll just say
Let's
it right
go.
now. Book it.
This is the year, like Austin said.
I like
this.
that.
This has to be the year. I thought last year was the year, but this has to be the year.
This is the year.
But I think we have 2 bye weeks. And so that second bye week is actually after the K-State game. So there's 2 weeks between the K-State game and the Iowa State game, which kind of concerns me because, I think that's prime for a letdown, unfortunately. To me, it could be. Could be. It might not be. But, we could slip up at Arrowhead against Iowa State. I could see that happening.
It could just be the rest we need to get over that matchup with K-State because it's going to take blood, sweat, and tears to pull that one out.
Right. Colorado's going to be tough, obviously with prime time. Obviously Shadur is he threw 3 picks against with the worst offensive line quite possibly in history. So he has the talent, so that our defense has to somehow contain him just a little bit. I don't know if that could happen, but who knows? I see 10-2. I'm optimistic here. I'm gonna go Big 12 champion, college football playoff. Let's go. This is the year to do it. This is the year to do it. I'm excited. I'm excited for what's coming in the future. I'm really curious of how Isaiah Marshall's gonna look like next year if he can get that starting spot or if Cole Ballard's the guy. But if there's ever a year for KU to do something special and match or even exceed, we always talk about Orange Bowl, let's talk about something else, right? Just like basketball, frankly, there's all when are we gonna win another title? And then it actually happened. I'm not saying that's gonna happen, on the football end, but why not? Why not KU football have a magical season, win the Big 12? And if they lose in the first round of the playoff, it sucks, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
So
we got 3 10-2s across the board. So I can't pick 10-2 because I can't be the same as you guys. So I'm gonna go with Chris in that 11-1. I'm gonna go the optimism route. KU's 11-1. They beat K-State on the road at K-State. They make it to the Big 12 championship, win or lose. They make it to the Big 12 championship. They make it to the college football playoff, and Jalen Daniels is a Heisman finalist.
How many
That's my
games in the
prediction.
playoff do we win?
That's too hard to predict.
Okay, all right.
That's you just don't know how those brackets are going to shape up. But yeah, Jalen Daniels, if healthy,
right.
is a Heisman finalist in my opinion. I think he's one of the most 5 talented quarterbacks in the country, and quarterbacks are always in the Heisman race. So Jalen Daniels for Heisman, which leads me into my last thing I want to talk about here as we before we get out of here. As I'm looking at the record books, and of course we talked about this with Devin Neal back in the summer. And again, if you have not checked out the episode, go back and do so. It was fantastic. I'll be posting a lot of that content again over the next few weeks as we get closer to kickoff. Jalen Daniels is already top 10 in passing yards. He has an opportunity to finish second all time if he plays a full season and lives up to what he's capable of. Only needs about 2,300 yards to finish second behind Todd Reesing. Now, he'd have to have an absolute monster of a year to get to Todd Reesing numbers at 11,000 yards. But Jalen Daniels should finish top 3, if not top 2, in all-time passing yards, which I think is fantastic. As I look at the touchdowns here, Jalen is sitting at 5th with 31. Jason Bean is 2nd at 38. And, of course, Todd Reesing is all the way up there at 90, so that's not going to happen. But I'd be shocked if Jalen does not throw for 7 or more touchdowns to finish second. So I think there's 2 categories there that Jalen has the potential to finish and probably go down next to Todd Reesing as KU's second best quarterback in program history. Again, got to be healthy, and I hope that's the case. And then, of course, Devin Neal, we talked about it with him on the pod, but Devin has the opportunity to break all sorts of records rushing. He's just over 800-ish yards away from June Henley at number 1 at total rushing yards. Devin Neal's at 3,077, June Henley at 3,841. So Devin's currently 4th. We talked about it with him that maybe that game is Houston, maybe that game is K-State. But again, if Devin is healthy, we're expecting a 1,200-yard season, give or take. So that should put him as the number 1 running back in KU history when it comes to yards. And then touchdowns, I believe he's also he's also 8 away from tying June Henley. He's at 33. June Henley's at 41. Also got to think with the way KU likes to run near the goal line with Devin, that is also a strong possibility. So 2 guys that could finish as top 2 in their positions and could argue for best player at that position in KU program history. I think that's fantastic. Just wanted to kind of end with those 2, the possibilities for them. And then my final prediction, of course, if you guys have any thoughts on the record books, feel free to say so. But my final other prediction on this team is next year we see 5 players in the NFL draft. I haven't decided who all 5 of those are yet, but some combination of Jalen, Devin, Kobe, Lawrence Arnold, possibly Luke Grimm, and I gotta think Mello Dawson's getting drafted at this point too, the way he's playing. So maybe upwards of 7 to 8 guys, but I'm gonna say at least 5 guys hear their name drafted in the NFL next year.
I think
which would be insane because that's
that.
never happened in program history.
You know that
over under 4.5.
Yeah, I think that's a good over under. Yeah, over under 4.5.
Yeah.
I had a massive epiphany the other day, and I was just thinking about, what if Jalen, goes off and has the type of season that everybody's expecting him to have. He's from the Los Angeles area, right? They got a quarterback who's, getting a little old. What if the Los Angeles Rams decided to draft JD6 and he went back and just became the quarterback of the Rams and had just this hometown story almost. I mean, he's from Lawndale.
That'd be pretty cool.
That'd be pretty cool. I mean,
wait, why can't you go to the Chargers? They have just some guy named Justin Herbert that's supposed to be the God's gift at quarterback that is injured right now and can't win a playoff game.
Can you imagine if? I don't know about that. Well, I think Herbert's good, but I don't know if the Rams. I thought the Rams were his favorite team though. I could be wrong, but
I think so.
That'd be pretty cool though if he went back to like LA and played for one of the 2 teams. And
yeah, that'd be cool.
But
yeah, those are my final predictions. Anybody else got anything else they want to get off their chest on the season preview of the 2024-2025 KU football season.
Man, it's just the year.
All right, can we play the biggest hypothetical of all?
Sure.
If
Okay.
JD6 and Devin Neal lead us to a national championship, is JD6 over Todd Reesing?
Yes.
Oh,
Are
for
we-
sure.
are we putting JD6 over Todd Reesing?
Championships outweigh everything.
No, fair enough.
I mean, no one's ever going to catch Todd Reesing's stats because you got to do that for 4 years, basically. Todd
course
Reesing
not.
was essentially a 4-year starter
not.
mostly. But yeah.
But
Right.
careful with saying championships outweigh everything because
Yeah, we're not going to get to the LeBron Jordan debate because of that. We'll save that for
Bill
another
Russell,
episode.
come
Bill
on.
Russell. But in this instance, a championship would outweigh that. I mean, we've had plenty of KU basketball players have a tremendous career but never won a championship. And then you get a guy like David McCormick who was up and down career, finishes on the highest of notes, winning a national championship, and then that now puts him above so many other guys that have had better careers. So yeah, championship would be tremendous. I don't even know what Lawrence would do if KU won a national championship in football. It would be insane.
Now, if JD6 leads and Devin Neal leads into the
Mass Street
championship
would
game,
be. I don't even know. Mass Street would be crazy.
I think even getting to the college football playoff, we're gonna be shocked and excited. So yeah. I don't know how we would handle KU. Like if we get to that point of the year, it's like wow, KU's in the college football playoff and they have a path to a championship. Oh my gosh, I don't even know.
I mean, shoot, if we beat Kansas State, can you imagine the scene in Lawrence at all the bars? I mean, oh my God, it'd be
so insane. Okay. That's one thing we didn't ask. What's the highest in the polls you think KU gets to this year?
Oh,
I forgot about that.
It's a great question.
Top 10.
Top 10. Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, they can get top 10.
I'm going to say they're going to crack the top 10 at some point if they play, as well as everybody thinks.
Because theoretically, if they start off 6-0, they should be top 12. And if they beat K-State, then they should be top 10. Now, if they don't beat K-State, I still think they're probably top 20 out of that. But yeah, I think things could break KU's way for sure. But okay, anything else?
Just ready for the season. I'm ready to see this guy play again.
Aren't we all?
It's going to be a fun year. I'm excited. I can't wait.
We'll wrap up there again as a reminder. On our way to 1,000 subscribers, be one of those subscribers. Help us get there. We will be doing a massive signed jersey giveaway. Devin Neal and Jalen Daniels, we have a signed jersey of each of theirs. We do a free giveaway to all of our listener subscribers once we hit 1,000 over here on YouTube. So again, if you have not done so yet, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Share the podcast with another KU fan like yourself. Also, make sure to follow us on all of our social medias at KCSA Pod below there, because that is where all the details will be once we are ready to do that giveaway. So I have the jerseys, but cannot give them away until we get to 1,000 subscribers. So do your part in helping us get there. And once you start seeing us post more about it, make sure you send that out. But thank you guys for joining me on this one. This has been our KU football 2024-2025 season preview episode. There will be plenty of KU football to still come week after week as we get into the season. Over the next week and a half, you can anticipate seeing several videos, whether it's short clips from this episode reposted or some short clips from that Devin Neal episode we had. We might also dive into a little bit further in some of these actual upcoming matchups and some of the other details of the season. But thank you guys for checking us out. If you've been watching us live here on YouTube and Facebook, thank you so much. Hoping to do some more of these as we continue to build and grow, as well as some Twitter spaces where you guys can hop in, because we really do want to engage and interact with you guys. It's fun for us to sit here and talk and throw off takes and see your comments later, but it'd be nice to kind of interact with you guys live and kind of get some thoughts off. So make sure you stay tuned for all of our future episodes. Again, that is Austin Eckert, Derek Ho, JB Merker, and I am Keegan Russell. This has been another episode of the KC Sports Authority podcast. Make sure you like and subscribe. As always, rock chalk, and we will catch you guys in the next episode.
Rock chalk.
Rock chalk.